Good afternoon. My name is Chief Slayton with the Auburn Police Department. I want to talk to you today about an incident that happened on August 8th, 2024, an officer-involved shooting that resulted in a death investigation that occurred at 20 Thornton Ave, City of Auburn, also known as Melone Village Apartments. The shooting occurred during an investigation into a child sexual exploitation. During that investigation, members of the police department came into contact with the subject, later identified as Scott DeMonte, age 51, of Fayetteville, New York. Upon making contact with him, DeMonte brandished a handgun and pointed it at law enforcement officers. He then turned the gun on himself. The preliminary investigation shows that DeMonte discharged a single round, resulting in a self-inflicted fatal gunshot wound to the head. During the encounter, an Auburn police officer discharged a single round into the direction of DeMonte that did not strike DeMonte. Resuscitation efforts were immediately rendered by officers on the scene. However, DeMonte did ultimately succumb to his injury. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Sheriff Skank. We got the Cayuga County Sheriff's Department to do the criminal investigation side of this incident.
Good afternoon, everybody. As the chief said, he had reached out to my agency yesterday and asked that we provide some assistance in investigating this death, this officer-involved shooting. It's not uncommon for us to work together on investigations, but with an investigation to this magnitude, he felt it would be appropriate for us to take lead on the shooting investigation, and we did commence an investigation yesterday. I will say that we worked in close cooperation with the New York State Police, with the New York State Attorney General's office, as they were contacted by Chief Slayton, and we also worked closely with our district attorney, who is here today, and the Auburn Police Department. They certainly assisted on this investigation as we moved forward yesterday. As the chief mentioned, we did make a determination based on the evidence so far to date that a single fatal self-inflicted gunshot wound is the cause of death for Mr. DeMonte. We do continue to work on this investigation. We've got a lot of evidence. Certainly in a case like this, there is a mountain of evidence that we're going to need to review, analyze, collect, and look at, including a lot of video evidence. There is body-worn camera evidence that we're certainly going through and working in close partnership with all of the agencies I mentioned to put this investigation together and determine exactly what happened here. I can't speak to really too many specifics relative to the ongoing investigation. We're not even 24 hours into this, so I'm not going to share very much relative to that. But I am going to try to answer a few questions if you have some that I am able to answer. If I cannot, I may refer you to somebody else here. I don't know if we want to take questions now, or District Attorney Antonacci, do you want to say anything now? No. Okay. I can try to answer a few questions relative to that if you have anything.
Could you spell the name of the deceased, please?
I'm actually going to pass out a press release and update at the end, if that works for you, that we are going to put out right after this press conference, but I'll give you all a copy of that, if that works.
And then you mentioned that the police were going there because he was a sex offender. Could you give a little bit more information on that? Were they called there for some reason? Was it relocation?
I can't speak the exact reason as to why we came into contact with him, but I might turn that over to the district attorney if she can comment relative to that.
Sure. So there was an unrelated, and at least one unrelated individual that was arrested for child exploitation related charges. Prior to that, Mr. DeMonte arrived on scene as part of that investigation, and that's when the incident took place.
Do we know how old the child was that was in the residence?
I do not.
Yeah. And it's not something we really want to comment at this time, given the fact that there is at least one other individual charged.
And just to be sure, a child was in the residence. It wasn't online or pornography or anything.
There's details relative to the investigation that brought us to that location that we're not prepared to release at this time. We will be able to down the road, but we can't release anything relative to that right now.
When was the scene cleared? Because I know it was a pretty active scene last night, but when exactly was it cleared? Fully?
I can't answer exactly when it was cleared. I know that I left at approximately 1 o'clock in the morning. We were still there, our departments were still there collecting evidence, processing the scene. I know that went on for some time after that, but I don't know exactly what time it was cleared. I'm not sure if anybody standing here with me today can answer that question, but I can't tell you right now.
I believe it was, sorry, sir. I believe it was shortly after 2 a.m. this morning.
Okay. Was there any more law enforcement agencies that plan on going back to the scene, or is it just like the scene is fully cleared now?
The scene was fully cleared now.
Okay. And then, do we know exactly what unit it was within the apartment complex or manor, rather?
It was Unit 507.
Unit 507.
And you mentioned police did fire a shot. Do you know where that ended up or where it went? Was it collected?
I'm gonna let the sheriff speak to that because of his ongoing investigation.
We do know the officer and one of the officers involved did fire one shot. We have recovered that round, and we do know where that round was recovered from.
Mm-hmm. And then at this very moment, it was self-inflicted, is what you're telling. But was there any like communication trying to get him to stop? Was it very quick? Was it like not a standoff, but was there any communication to de-escalate?
I can tell you that this whole situation unfolded very quickly. It was very dynamic.
And did he live there? Is that known?
He did not.
Did the child live there?
I'm not going to speak to the particulars of the investigation that led him to be there.
So you can't comment on his relationship to the person you're investigating for child sex exploitation?
Not today.
And just to confirm once again, like you said, there's another individual also part of this case as well, another suspect as well?
I can't clarify that right now either.
Okay.
There'll be some additional details that come down the road relative to this, but it's too early to speak to that right now.
Okay.
Can you confirm that that APD firing a shot is what necessitated the involvement of the state attorney general?
That's correct, yes.
And did he
They are
die?
investigating as well?
They are working in close partnership with us. They did have somebody that responded to the scene last night. They were very actively engaged in the investigation with us last night, as well as the ongoing investigation that we continue to work on today. We've been in very close contact with them, so they have been involved.
So was it Auburn police that first responded to the scene, or was it the sheriff's department that first responded to the scene again?
So at the particular time, there were multiple agencies that were there.
Okay, how many officers were inside the residence at the time when DeMonte did inflict this self-inflicted gunshot wound?
I can't speak to that right now.
Did he die at the scene, or was he transported to the hospital?
He was transported to the hospital for treatment.
And so, do you know like what time he died afterward, or?
I don't have the actual time of death. I don't know that right now.
Was he shot inside the house or outside?
This was outside the house. He was not. It was a self-inflicted gunshot wound, but this occurred outside the apartment there.
It might have been said. Do you know where he hit himself with the bullet?
He did. It was a fatal gunshot wound to the head.
My last question is just regarding the entirety of the complex. Families live there, you know, they have kids. This could be a dramatic scene. It happened relatively in the evening, you know, people are out and about roaming around. What was the scene, I guess, what you saw with the community's response and reaction to this happening?
When I arrived later personally, so I can't speak to what the scene exactly looked like at the time. But you know, it was certainly, there was evidence tape in the area. Obviously, individuals were not allowed to walk in the crime scene. It was a very large crime scene. But I didn't have any interaction personally, and I didn't observe community members really actively engaging with anyone there at the time that I arrived. Anything else?
Go ahead.
You just mentioned it a little, but it was notes left outside the home regarding just if anyone was to witness it, possibly children. This very moment, if kids did witness it, are you talking to children, or at least like trying to do anything with that?
We're going to continue to interview any potential witnesses, anybody that could have been there at the time. There could be people out there in our community that witnessed this that we don't know about. We would certainly want them to reach out to our sheriff's office and you know, let us know who they are, whether they're children or adults. But we would like to interview anybody that may have seen or heard anything at the time, we would encourage them to reach out.
Will you be releasing the body cam footage?
We're not going to release it now. The investigation is ongoing. That could be something that could be a possibility down the road here once the investigation is concluded. But at this time, we're not going to be releasing any video.
Now, you also said that you had quite a sum of footage that you're going to be looking over. What's the timeline between when officers got there to when DeMonte inflicted this gunshot wound to when he was transferred to the hospital?
I'm not going to comment as to how much time went by during that time frame. I did mention a few minutes ago that this was a dynamic scene at the time the shooting occurred, but I'm not prepared to comment about the timeline leading up to that.
Has any officers been put on leave, or this the officer that did shoot the shot?
I can't answer to the status of the administrative side of that. Chief, would you like to answer that?
Yes, it's our policy and procedure that somebody that is involved in an incident like this is put on paid administrative leave while the investigation is ongoing. We want to make sure their health and well-being as well as everybody else's. And to add to a question that you added earlier about any setup points for anybody that may have witnessed anything to talk to, there are going to be some stuff with the school set up, and that will go out later today to the community, and we have some local resources that are setting it up.
Just because it was one singular shot, are you saying only one officer is put on leave right now?
One officer is on paid administrative leave.
Can you provide their name?
We won't provide that name until next week.
Is he a veteran or young officer? Is he
Young to me, or young in general?
Oh, is he new to the job?
No, he's been out of the job a little while.
And the actual deceased, was he a convicted sexual offender? Like, was he known to be a repeat offender possibly, or is that something we can share?
That's not something we can comment at this time.
Well, it sounds like you're saying that deceased is separate from the person you were investigating for child sexual exploitation. The person you're investigating lived there, and this person, this DeMonte of Fayetteville, presumably did not live there.
No, that's not what we're saying. All I'm saying is that there was an investigation into child exploitation. Mr. DeMonte came onto the scene as part of that investigation, and that is separate from anything else.
Will you also be contacting Fayetteville police or anything, because you're saying that he's from Fayetteville? Will you guys be contacting them as well to help with this investigation?
I'll defer to Juan.
We will be doing a lot of work in regards to his background, to look at anything that could have potentially had an impact on this investigation or led him to be involved with this particular case that we're working on. So if we determine that there will be some benefit for us to reach out to the authorities in his local community, we will certainly do that and make that part of our investigation.
At this very moment, child exploitation keeps being said. Is there an actual example that y'all could give if you don't know anything that was actually happening to a child?
I don't want to comment on that today. I think, this information will become available down the road, but I think it's a little premature for us to comment in regards to that.
No, it was just one child?
I'm not going to comment relative to the actual investigation that led us to have contact with Mr. DeMonte.
And it was said he didn't live there, but is kind of reason why he was possibly there?
Again, we're not going to comment on that, so.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, thank you. I do have some copies of the press release that will go out today. I appreciate you covering this. I appreciate your patience and understanding. There's a lot of work to do here, a lot of evidence. We need to sort through that and make sure that we're being as thorough as possible. We don't want to release information prematurely, so thank you for your patience. I'll lay these right up here if anybody wants to go ahead and